Welcome to the vlog. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoy this video. What the fuck? Sorry, I just like threw myself into this. Okay, yeah, hi. I'm Licha. I am a YouTuber. Not really. I make YouTube videos and I try to make art whenever I feel so inclined, and that's what my videos are about. Welcome. Yeah, so this is pretty much footage from the past couple weeks or whatever, just basically right after I finished filming my last vlog up until now-ish. Filming kind of spanned a longer period of time this time around, just because I was busy as fuck with the holidays coming. Today is officially my first kind of day of holiday break or whatever, so I'm feeling nice, I'm feeling free, I'm feeling lighter with, you know, a lot of my work responsibilities kind of wrapped up, at least for now. So yeah, it was an interesting kind of past couple weeks. I feel like I was dealing with a lot of, you know, wintertime feelings and confronting a lot of things that tend to come up during the winter, and like the struggles and stuff like that. Hence, you know, going to this first therapy session, which was a nice way to start. I feel like it set my mind in motion for, you know, thinking about a lot of the things that it was just time to think about. So anyways, I just wanted to hop in and say hello and then get this little storytelling commentary thing that I'm doing started. So yes, welcome to the vlog. Let's hop into it. So my new therapist is downtown, which I don't live downtown, and I only ever go down there, you know, I don't know, if I have a reason to, or sometimes I go like on the weekend or whatever, just to hang out, because parking is a kind of pain in the ass if you don't go like in the evenings or weekends. But with my therapist being downtown, it is kind of like a nice way to experience going downtown, enjoy the setting and the, you know, break my sketchbook out and draw people around me and wander around through the gridlock streets and stuff like that, as well as go to the cool places that exist only downtown, that are kind of unique to the city center. And one of those places was the that I went to this therapy day was the Central Library. Yeah, I forget when it was built, just like a few years ago, I'm pretty sure. They built this massive, beautifully designed, amazing architecture library right smack in the middle of downtown, and I love visiting there. It's like one of my you know, go-to kind of like artist dates or whatever, going down to that library specifically, picking out a book or two that calls out to me, or that, you know, is inspiring to me from their like artist collection. I love a good like artist biography book, and the one that kind of jumped out at me when I went this time around was a book on Jenny Saville, which I hadn't heard of her prior to this past summer, but she was a artist that came up a few times when I was taking my figure drawing class. My prof of that class, Mark, he brought her up a lot when we were talking about like figurative painting and figurative artists and stuff like that. So we looked at her work, and yeah, she's just like, she's a fucking massive artist, right? Like she does crazy huge paintings, you know, is very successful. And so seeing her stuff or learning about her was really inspiring. So I saw this book and I was like, oh shit, I know her. I love her work. She's fucking phenomenal. So I picked it up. So yes, this book kind of was talking about, or it had like a central theme about, showing her work, but specifically I think like this collection of pieces had to do with like the level of finish in an artwork, on top of like all the themes that she tends to explore and stuff with like portraiture and figure and movement and all that stuff. It was exploring the ways that like different artists play with a level of finish in their work. Like, what makes a painting complete, or how do you know when you're working on a painting what to leave and what to continue to like etch out and render and explore. There was a really good quote. I was like writing a little bit as I was reading, just some things that stuck out to me. But there was a quote by Cézanne. It's a little bit, Cézanne was an artist of fucking centuries ago, right? I remember learning about him in art history. Okay, yeah, in the 1800s he was born, so quite a while away. But anyways, I'll just read the quote. So he said, "I have to work all the time, but not to achieve the finish that earns the admiration of imbeciles," which is a little rude, but... and that thing that is so widely valued is nothing more than a workman's craft, and makes all resulting work inartistic and common. I must strive for the completion purely for the satisfaction of becoming truer and wiser. And then I pulled another quote. Working without a known goal, the artist must stop when the goal is reached, irrespective of the painting's degree of finish. So yeah, despite like the kind of prickly nature of that Cézanne quote, I think there is something to be said, like I feel like when you go into a piece of work or like an artwork that you're working on with this idea of like a level of finish or like a goal of something that will appeal to, the most amount of people as possible, I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice in terms of like allowing yourself to explore what that piece wants to be. You place this like preconceived notion of what a good piece of artwork looks like, and that is typically like highly rendered, very clean, very finished, a little less abstract maybe. I feel like generally the vibe, and maybe this is shifting, generally the vibe with like the everyman or the layman or whatever when it comes to art is that if it's, if you can see the underpainting, if you can see too many like crazy lines or whatever, then it looks unfinished, or it's like, oh, my kid could do that, right? Like that's the common sentiment towards a lot of artwork that people just don't understand, or that is a little like unconventional, I guess. But I think like the exploration and the allowing of an artwork to be what it wants to be, or what, wherever creativity comes from, whatever is bubbling up inside of you without any kind of like societal input or any, existing beliefs within you in the way that like your mind has been conditioned, allowing that to be creates the most beautiful and the most, amazing artworks, at least from my perspective. And I can definitely relate to that when I, am making artwork myself. But yeah, there were tons of like great little nuggets of wisdom and pull quotes and stuff like that I didn't write down. And like the art itself was obviously beautiful. But yeah, I just appreciated how, you can be so free, and like Jenny in her exploration and process allows the like initial sketches, the initial mark making and stuff like that to kind of be there and stay there if that's what the piece wants, if that makes sense. I feel like it's easy to get stuck in this idea of like, okay, when I sit down to make a piece of art, at least for myself, I'll do a little concept sketch, I'll do an initial sketch, I'll clean it up, I'll do the line work, I'll do the color, and and then so by the end, there's there's not even like a hint of what was originally there. So this play of like challenging that, those rules or like that sequence of events or that step-by-step process is really interesting to me. Okay, hi, hello from the studio. It's a Saturday. I've come here on a weekend. Nobody's here yet, but I think somebody just pulled up. I am here to prep some canvases. I recently stopped at my good old local art supply store and bought a bunch of canvas stretchers. Which are these wood bars. You can like build your own canvases. And then I have a roll of canvas. I'm hoping that this is going to be enough, that I bought like a few years ago. This is the same canvas that I used for like my big fish painting. But yeah, it's my first time building canvases or like stretching my own canvas. So it's going to be a bit of an experience, I'm sure. I watched a couple videos. And I have some stuff, but let's see how it goes. Is there like a rubber mallet anywhere? A rubber mallet in the wood shop or anything?
Maybe in the wood shop.
So yeah, a big project that I am kind of getting started on, and that has been in the back of my mind for a little while, is I want to create this series of paintings. I want to put together like a little body of work or whatever, right? I feel like this idea came to me, I don't know, maybe like a few weeks ago or months ago or something like that, when I was listening to Lux by s.a.d. Yeah. Excellent, excellent album. I love her. I love her so much. And how, you know, in a similar way, you know, the way that a musician is an artist and their output of creativity is these albums that they work on for, you know, a period of time until it's like complete, or, you know, it's kind of this like rounded body of work. I was thinking, like, what would that look like for me if I, you know, instead of making songs in an album, I made paintings in a set or whatever, in a collection. So yeah, it's kind of like a new challenge. It's kind of like a interesting new thing that I need to direct myself through, because an issue with, you know, being an artist and having a personal practice is that, you know, you can do anything. So how do you decide what to do? So that's kind of been a interesting challenge with this. Good morning. Hello. Oh my god, I think I have a little pimple on my face. I don't have a mirror anywhere. 1 second. Yeah, okay. Nothing big. Just a little guy. Hi, good morning. I just got into the studio. It is pretty early. For some reason I got up early this morning, so I came here early. The sun's like literally just still coming up because we're in that season. But yeah, hi. I haven't really had the chance to speak properly on the vlog yet. Sorry, I had to count how long my tea was steeping. I used to just like leave my tea bag in my tea for like a long time, or even just like leave it in the teacup as I was drinking it or whatever. But lately, maybe not lately, but like, I don't know. Since I've been drinking more tea, I've been following the directions for like how long you should steep it. And I steep like a few times, so I know, I don't know, it's like different each time or whatever, but like the first time I follow the steeping instructions and the tea tastes way better. They're fucking onto something here. I think, you know, if the tea steeps too long, then it like takes away the actual flavor of the tea. It like gets too bitter or something like that. And especially since like I used to bring milk into the studio to like have with my tea to make it like creamier and more delicious. I love milk with tea. But I don't know, it just like was becoming a hassle, because like I would bring a bunch of milk here and then maybe I would get busy and I wouldn't come into the studio, or, you know, I don't know, I wouldn't use the milk and then it would expire. So yeah, I've just decided to drink my tea black when I'm in the studio, so the flavor does matter a little bit more now. But yeah, I'm happy to say I've figured it out, so we're good. But yeah, haven't really had a chance to speak properly on the vlog yet, so hi, hello, it's me. Other than, you know, I don't know, the little editing me commentary thing that I will film when I'm editing this. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to chat. Last time I was like planning to chat a little bit, but the studio got busy and you know how it is. If I know that there's like somebody possibly listening, I can't get myself to yap comfortably. So let's go up to my studio and then we'll chat. Okay, hi, how's it going? I love this mug so very much. It is my studio mug, and like I've mentioned before in, I think it was the last vlog or some other vlog, it's oh, okay, this is what our framing is doing. That's awesome. And am I in focus? I don't really know. Okay, sorry, 1 second, guys. I got this new tripod. Okay, sorry, it's just gonna, I'm not gonna lock focus because I'm worried it's just gonna be out of focus this entire time that I'm talking, so it's just gonna do that weird kind of refocusing thing. Whatever. The last video podcast that I filmed on my Patreon was just like slightly out of focus the whole time because I locked focus slightly too close, so that bothered me a little bit. It's fine, but whatever. What was I saying? Hi, how are you guys? How am I? I'm doing okay. I'm doing pretty good. It's winter, right? Today is December 10th. You know, the days are short as fuck, like I said. The sun was like just coming up. It was like just becoming bright enough to not have your lights on when you're driving. Like, not your actual lights, but like your I'm here lights for like other drivers. As I was coming in, and it is 9 now. So now it's like bright out, but yeah, the days are getting shorter, and I know it's coming to December 21st or 22nd or whatever, which will be the shortest day of the year and the official start to winter, I guess. But yeah, it's going, you know. I feel like I've talked about before how, you know, winters can be a little bit tough for a lot of people, including myself. I am not immune to that. And yeah, this year I've been, you know, trying to prepare for that, you know, coming into winter with awareness of, you know, how things tend to go. And so I'm like treating myself with love and compassion and grace. And if I do feel a little like, I don't know, feeling like I just want to be horizontal and watch Christmas movies, then this is the time to do it. I forget where I said this, but like December, when the days are getting shorter, is like not so bad because, you know, we have the holidays and stuff like that, and, you know, people get together and you eat a lot of good food, and it's kind of like societally accepted to just be cozy and, you know, fucking check out and circle back in the new year or whatever. But the real challenge is January, February, I feel, because the days are short, it's cold as fuck, and there are no holidays. There's like, there is like Valentine's Day, and my birthday's in February and stuff like that. So like I have things to celebrate, but it's, I don't know, just the vibe around Christmas makes it all like cozy and stuff. So I'm going to try and maintain this, you know, coziness and whatever, even past the holiday season. It'll probably be a little bit more of a struggle, but I will do my best. Just like enjoy the nice things about winter, the cozy things, you know? Being able to come in and like bundle up and, you know, drink hot tea and all that stuff. So, yeah. So yeah, I'm in today pretty early, partially because I woke up early, but also partially out of necessity. I was kind of expecting this to happen. I was hoping it wasn't gonna, but I feel like every year it's like this. I've gotten very busy with client work up until the holidays. And like I said, it's expected, right? People are trying to get stuff done before the holiday break, or like they need stuff done before the new year type thing, or they need it done into the new year. So that's kind of been my life lately. I haven't been breaking out the camera very much to vlog as much as I would like to, because it's been, you know, my days have just been full with computer work and whatever else. So today is going to be pretty much the same, but I would like to, at least to start off my day, start with a little bit of sketchbooking, or just like sketch a little bit, just to like warm myself up. It is kind of nice, you know, being early into the studio. I feel like I have some time to kind of warm up and massage my creative brain muscles a little bit before I get into the actual work of the day. So yeah, please enjoy that footage as I continue to yap as I do. So yeah, last week I went to my first therapy session. I mentioned in my last vlog that I had a consult and I was going to go back to therapy, just as like a, I don't know, something to do. And also, you know, the wintertime, as we know, therapy can be very helpful with coping and dealing with, you know, the lowness and negative feelings that can kind of come with that. So yeah, the first session was good. My therapist this time is a lot younger than my past couple therapists. She's still a student, she's an intern therapist, but feels very, you know, professional, and she's directly supervised by a psychologist or something like that. So I'm not worried about that. And in any case, I'm not really, you know, looking for like a fucking, you know, sorry, they're like dumping garbage over there. I don't know if you can hear it. Yeah, I'm not really looking for like a clinical psychologist or anything like that, or like the top therapist in the land or whatever. I just want to chitty chat and to, you know, I don't know, look into myself and open my eyes to maybe certain things that I have been missing or that I have been kind of brushing off or whatever. It's an interesting thing, I think, having both like a therapy practice and my like spiritual practice, which is like, I don't know, what I do every day, what I do every morning. I remind myself of, you know, the realities that help me maintain my peace, and remind me of the nice things about life and living, and, you know, whatever. The things that, like, when I think about them, about like being in the now, and the now is all there is, and, you know, my consciousness and shit like that, maintaining that, and when I think about that, and when I practice that, things are good. You know, things are chill. I can bring myself back to a level of peace of like, there are no real problems, and like, I'm just happy to be here and happy to get to experience life and all of the beautiful things that are in it, including the quote-unquote bad things, or like the slower times, or the more like negative things that come. It's all just part of the grander, greater good, the good that has no opposite, if you will, of being alive and getting to experience life on this planet until you die, right? Until your physical body goes away. So like, that side is really fulfilling for me, and it's been extremely helpful, and I feel like that side is what made me feel like I didn't really need the therapy anymore the last time that I stopped therapy. And now going back into therapy, it wasn't prompted by anything really. There's like, I don't feel like I need it. It's just kind of something to do because I enjoy it. It's like fun looking into yourself and like challenging the like psychological patterns and things that, you know, can become default in your life if you don't look at them. And so it's interesting balancing the two worlds, because it's like the therapy side, I'm very much talking about like my day-to-day like problems in quotation marks, you know, things that I notice about myself that I would like to change, or, you know, digging into my past, or, you know, all of the things that on the side of like my spiritual practice or whatever has no weight, doesn't really mean anything, because it's like, it's not a real problem when I really think about it, or, you know, it just is, kind of thing, right? And so I can accept that. But then going to therapy and talking about it, it kind of feels like I'm bringing it up again, and then it feels like, I don't know, it's an interesting thing to observe, that like when I don't talk about my problems, or like my problems, again in quotation marks, when I don't dig up like my inner psychological workings or whatever, then I don't think about them, and they're not really a thing that I feel like I need to solve, which they're kind of not, you know, from the perspective of like everything is as it is, and like coming at myself with compassion and stuff. There's nothing wrong with the way that I am, and luckily I've, you know, been able to realize that over the years with therapy and with, you know, spiritual shit. So I know that, and yet at the same time, when I focus in on certain things about myself that I would like to change, or that, you know, I would like to work on, for example, in our first therapy session or whatever, the thing that we talked about last week was that, like, I was thinking of like, okay, I can't just go into this therapy session and be like, yeah, I don't know, I just want to yap and whatever. I don't really know what to talk about, because then I'm kind of wasting money there, right? It's like, I should come prepared with something that I would like to talk about. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, I have noticed over the past many years, how my default patterns are, and how they kind of veer, and that is kind of judgmental, kind of stubborn, kind of closed off towards people. Which, like, I don't know if that's how I come across on YouTube, because for some reason I'm able to be very open, and I guess it's because I make these videos to share, and like I'm the only one who can fill the space here, and it's all up to me what I talk about and what I do and stuff, so it's easy to just like yap on and on and on. But in person, I don't do that. I don't share as much, because I'm more of a person to like, I want to hear other people share. I don't want to go on and on about myself, which is like an interesting thing that I realized about myself, or that I discovered about myself from the perspective of my friends, that like I'm very closed off. And I'm like, damn, really? I didn't even realize that I am, but I am. And so that's one thing. And then the whole like judgment thing, it's just like me keeping an eye on my thoughts when I'm like going about my day-to-day life. I feel like something about things that happened to me growing up, or like the way that I developed my adult identity, or like, you know, growing up, the identity that kind of like kept me safe or whatever, was maintaining this facade of like being cool and kind of aloof, and like unbothered. And I believe, when I think about it, that kind of protection or whatever, or identity that I built, was because I was so afraid of the judgments coming from other people. Or like I was afraid that if I didn't have this facade up, then they would see me for who I am and not accept me. Or, you know, see me for who I am and then like not. Because I was judging myself as being like less than, or, you know, not good enough, or whatever, all these things. Maintaining that facade kept other people from seeing me as unworthy, which is what I believed myself to be. And so now that I've kind of like worked on and like healed from that inner belief that I'm not good enough or not worthy of things, and of course, like still at times I can go back to that when I'm feeling like a little insecure or whatever, then yes, that core belief comes back. The core false belief that I'm not good enough comes back. But for the most part, I've made really good strides to, you know, debunk that or whatever, right? And really believe it. And so while that is kind of being worked on, the automatic behavioral stuff of like judging other people before they can judge me kind of thing, or like placing myself above people through judgment, or like acting cool or, you know, closed off and stuff like that, that still remains. And I don't need it anymore because I know the truth about myself now, that I am worthy and the way that I am is fine the way that it is, you know? So it's just like working out those automatic behavioral things and patterns that I don't need anymore, thankfully. So it's interesting, you know? It's making me think a lot about how I go about my day-to-day life and stuff, and I'm really trying to come at it without judgment of myself, first and foremost, because in order to stop judging other people, I need to stop judging myself, because it's just, you know, the people who judge others because they judge themselves or something like that. You know, if they're judgmental of other people, then it's like tenfold inwards. So yeah, digging into everything that, you know, therapy will bring up, I am trying to come at it with a sense of compassion, acceptance, and like all of the basis of peace that I've built up through the spiritual side, come to the psychological side with that as my foundation. Like, yes, there are things that I notice about myself that I would like to unravel and undo because I don't need them anymore. And while I do that, I'm going to be careful about not judging myself for it, or not, you know, falling for the trap of like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that again. What's wrong with me? Why am I like this? I'm like this because I'm human, and I know that. Everybody judges. Everybody is judgmental. It's a human nature type thing. So being able to look at why I do that, and to break down why I don't need to do that anymore, and I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to uphold this closed off, cool facade that I have maintained my whole life, because it's tiring, you know? And I don't want to be that kind of person anymore. I want to be open. I want to be loving. I want to be accepting of myself and others. And so I'm working on that. So yeah, it's an interesting dichotomy, I suppose. But yeah, I suppose that's all I wanted to say. I feel like I had so many things that were kind of floating through my mind this morning when I was thinking about yapping to you guys, but I suppose that's good for now. I feel like my camera's gonna die, so I'm gonna shut this one off, let it charge, and get on with my day and get to sketching now, even though that's what you guys just watched me do. So yeah, anyways, that's all. I'll continue to share as I continue to dig, but with love for myself and for others. Okay. Toodles. Chat later. So I feel like at some point during the period of time when I was recording this footage, I came into a lull a little bit. I feel like part of it, or a good chunk of it, was just like resistance to the slowness that comes with wintertime. I was feeling a little bit like unmotivated, and like all of the challenges that come along with seasonal depression and stuff like that. So, you know, like I've gone through that so many times that like I'm quite comfortable now, or like a lot more comfortable than I used to be with these periods. So it was just like you know, there was still a part of me that was like, oh, I want to be filming, I want to be doing stuff, I want to be talking to you guys and being able to communicate my feelings and things that are going on in me and stuff like that. But sometimes that just doesn't work the way that you want it to. So I was kind of, you know, in those moments grappling with accepting that that's just what it was, despite my wants, despite my, you know, how nice it is when I am able to be communicative and motivated and inspired and all these things. When periods of time come that just isn't the case, I need to kind of just roll with that and ride that wave, instead of trying to, you know, struggle and paddle against it, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was kind of what was going on at a certain point. Okay, so I haven't actually ever gessoed, I don't think, without watering the gesso down. The only canvases that I've prepped really were for like using ink, and so I like wanted to retain the texture and the color of the canvas, but for this one I'm like prepping it properly. So I'm gonna like put down a couple layers of like pure gesso, assuming that is right. I watched like a couple videos or whatever on how to do this, and that's how people did it. I have this little tool for like spreading the gesso, as well as a brush. I'm gonna try with this, see how it goes, because that's kind of what it's for. And then I'm gonna sand and then do like 2 layers. So it's gonna be a bit of a process. You can definitely, obviously, if you've been to a art store before, they sell canvases primed already and stretched. And the reason why I have decided to do this myself is firstly because it's cheaper. Sorry, I'm just gonna talk at like a snail's pace. I'm a little bit like out of it, which I will talk about a little later, as well as there are other people in the studio today. They're chill, and I don't think they can hear me, but still, mentally, it creates a bit of a block. I don't know if I'm loving this. It like, there's like a little bevel or something that's making this kind of line that drags across. So maybe I will retire this and switch to a brush. But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so I have decided to do this myself, stretch the canvas with my own stretcher bars and gesso myself and all that. Firstly, for cost, it's way cheaper to do it if you don't account for time, as well as I like the process. I think it's nice to, you know, have a hand in like the preparation of the canvas as well. I don't know, something about that, rather than just like buying something store-bought, which is like cool and fine if that's the way that you want to go, and like, or you're on like a deadline, or you don't like how much time it takes to do all this. But personally, I think it's kind of nice stretching the canvas myself, and you know, going to get the material and like learning how to do this has been nice. And somebody just came in, so I don't know where they're gonna go. I'm nervous. Actually, I don't know if I like this. It's a learning process. Maybe that wasn't the front door, maybe that was the back door. It confuses me because the alarm system or whatever here, it like says something when the front or the back door opens. And I think it does say like back door open, front door open, but I can't really hear it. Probably was the back door. Okay, maybe I actually will go back to my gesso spreader, because this brush is like leaving behind little hairs. And I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe I should also be wearing an apron. Okay, sorry, we're learning, we're figuring things out still here. Okay, aproned. One sec. What was I gonna say? There you go. Okay. We'll do this again. So yeah, hi. I'm feeling a little bit weird, a little bit meh. That's just the state that I'm in. It's just a state that okay, I feel like maybe if I spread this a little lighter, the gesso will be thicker, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, I tried filming a little yap sesh a few days ago, a couple days ago, and it just wasn't working. I like sat down after like journaling, or you know, in the morning with my coffee or whatever on my little couch, which is typically, you know, a yappy safe space for me. But I don't know, something was going on inside, and I couldn't really get myself to talk naturally, or something was like holding me back from, I don't know, speaking in the way that I wanted to. And like I even tried, you know, recording and re-recording a few times, and it just wouldn't work, so I gave up. And yeah, that was a weird day. I like had a bunch of like work that I was gonna do. I sat down to work and I just couldn't. I suppose it was just one of those days. So luckily I was, you know, I didn't have any crazy deadlines or anything like that, so I gave myself the day to kind of take it easy and, you know, work on something else that I felt like I could. And yeah, it was strange, but I mean, I guess not surprising, you know, it being winter time, and I was on my period at that point, so my hormones and everything, I was feeling a little bit you know, slower and like that anyways. And then the day after that, which was yesterday, or sorry, no, a couple days after that, which was yesterday, I was feeling a bit better, but for some reason I was just angry. A bubble up of anger surfaced, and I did my best to like deal with it in a healthy way. I went to the gym and I you know, tried to expend some physical energy, and then I talked to Brandon about it, and yeah, I got to feeling better, and you know, it was, I don't know, it was like a bout of frustration around something. I wasn't like accepting something. This is actually kind of nice. It does leave like a bit of like a kind of, you know, fucking hairs in the gesso. It does leave a bit of like a texture, but it's kind of nice. It's kind of cool. It like gives like a bit of a plastery effect. For the sides though, I don't know if, I'll try. What was I saying? Yeah. It was some sort of buildup of, you know, repressed anger or something that I wasn't allowing myself to feel, or I was like labeling as bad and like shouldn't be felt or whatever. And yeah, it's a bit of a pattern of mine where like certain emotions I label as bad, or like certain things that I feel I don't allow myself to feel, being like, you know, tending to be people-pleasy and, you know, not wanting to have any conflict, or, you know, struggling to like maintain boundaries and stuff like that, just in day-to-day life. Repressing those emotions and stuff leads to eventually some sort of build-up and blow-up of those emotions, which is, you know, it's a funny thing because a lot of the time I do feel my emotions and I do allow myself to, you know, be in whatever state I'm in. But sometimes, and I feel like maybe periods like this where it's like the days are shorter, there's not a lot of sunshine outside, I'm probably lacking some vitamin D or whatever. And it's cold and stuff, and you know, all of the things that lead to seasonal depression, as well as being on my period and stuff like that, all maybe kind of led to me having this buildup of emotional energy or whatever. So yeah, that was a thing that happened, and I'm still kind of, you know, coming out of it, but I took a lot of time to look at it and kind of allow what happened to have happened, if that makes sense. And it made me think of what I think I was yapping about the other day, which was my first therapy session that I had. And specifically, my judgments that I have towards myself and other people, and how I wanted to learn how to judge less. And so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about how, you know, I had this anger that I was repressing or whatever, which led to the buildup and the explosion, not explosion, but you know what I mean, the buildup that had to come out somehow. And how that happened because I didn't accept, or I didn't allow the feelings that I had to be there in the first place when they came up with whatever was going on, when I, you know, felt them coming and then decided like, oh, this is not a good emotion, I can't allow it to be there, so I'm gonna just push it down. And similarly, thinking about like judgment and whatever else, I think maybe if it's my nature to label certain feelings or certain aspects of myself as bad or good, oh my god, okay, doing the edges is a little tricky. Maybe that in itself is the issue, you know, deciding that I can accept quote-unquote good emotions or quote-unquote good sides of myself or whatever, and yet I'm trying to change the quote-unquote bad, or the things that I label as bad in myself. And those things that I decide are bad or whatever are typically the things that I judge other people for. So it's like, as long as I'm trying to change myself, or as long as I'm, you know, in a state of non-acceptance of the things within myself, I will be in a state of non-acceptance towards other people, and therefore, you know, that leads to judgment or whatever. Because, as we all know, the, you know, judgments that other people place on other people have nothing to do with the other person, and rather more to do with the person placing the judgment. So if I'm able to, you know, accept myself fully and genuinely, regardless of what growing up I was taught was bad or shouldn't come up, or I should repress or whatever, I'm losing my train of thought. but you guys get what I'm talking about. The judgments towards other people will remain as long as the judgments towards myself remain. It's one of those things where it's like a bit of a riddle or like a trick where, you know, in order to fix the thing that you want to fix, or, you know, get rid of the negative thing that you want to get rid of, you can't want to get rid of it. You need to accept it and let it be as it is, and through that it will go away, but that can't be the motivation. Does that make sense? You need to accept fully, like, okay, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I am, as long as you're not like hurting anybody, then, you know, just being able to accept it and accept yourself for thinking certain things, or like being quote unquote bad, or having bad thoughts, instead of pushing them down and judging yourself for them, accepting them and letting them be as they are, and, you know, coming at them with a smile and with acceptance and with love. And then, so they don't seem like this big bad thing anymore that you need to get rid of, that you're ashamed of, you know? And then if that thing that you're repressing no longer has power over you, then you won't feel the need to judge other people for those things. Or, you know? Is that making sense? I don't know. I'm just yapping. I'm just a girl. Like I said, I'm not like feeling the most communicative right now. Or, you know, I am feeling a little weird and antisocial at the moment, but that's okay. I thought I would just try and see if I could talk it out a little bit with myself and with you guys, and remind myself that when I do yap, even though in the moment I'm a little bit insecure about whether or not it's making sense what I'm saying, I know that, you know, when I do this stuff, like at least one person, or at least a few people, will find value in it, or resonate with it, or something. And that's all I can really hope for. And if not that, then just the healing aspect of yapping it out with myself is enough. Okay, where do I put this now? I need this to dry, and then I'll sand it, and then I'll do another layer. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling. Yeah, I'm not actually feeling bad. I feel like I'm just feeling slow and like, you know, low key and stuff. And that can be perceived as like bad, and I can understand why, if somebody is a little, okay, that's not gonna work, a little like down or slow or whatever, it can be perceived as bad, or like within myself I can perceive it as bad and like try and be like, or fall into the trap of trying to be like, okay, how do I get out of this, right? But again, it I feel like it is one of those things where it just needs to be an acceptance and an allowing of what it is. Because there's a time for everything, and right now it is the time for me to be this way. Because it's winter, and that's fine. So, yeah. That's me right now. Okay, hi. I'm the last one in the studio, so I thought I would whip out my camera and yap a little bit more. Yeah, as I was stretching canvas and gessoing and stuff, my brain does what it does, and it continued to think about what I had just said, and since then it's been a couple hours, so I can't really remember what I said exactly in the last little bit, but I think what I have come to, or maybe a more eloquent way of saying what I meant to say when I was still like kind of figuring it out loud with you guys, is that I think first and foremost, acceptance of whatever is going on with me is the most important thing. Even for things like seasonal depression and, being slower in the wintertime, maybe feeling a little bit antisocial or less, like I want to, I don't know, be uppity and chatty and whatever else. Coming to periods like that, which are kind of inevitable for me, because I've seen them happen time and time again, coming to those periods with an acceptance and a non-judgmental kind of way of letting them be as they are, I think is what is kind of the key to peace and to, being okay with these things. I was thinking like, resisting the slowness or resisting the lowness or resisting any emotion that I feel that's going on inside of me is like a tree resisting the fall, or a flower resisting blooming in the spring, right? Or like a bird resisting the sound that it makes in the morning, or singing, or you know what I mean? It's like these things are naturally occurring in me, and to see them as wrong, or to see them, judge them as like something that shouldn't be happening, is kind of crazy, right? Because they're natural. They are what they are. They're happening, so they must be normal, right? They must be fine. Otherwise, they wouldn't be happening. So that's, when you look at it that way, I feel like growing up and like living in a society and whatever, there are all these like labels that are put on different emotions and different ways of being, and being antisocial or being introverted or whatever is kind of seen as like a little weird, or like some people don't get it or whatever, or if you're sad, then it's like, oh no, don't be sad, be happy, you gotta be happy. Or if you're mad, then it's like, you're not supposed to be mad. It's all of these very basic human emotions and experiences that don't need to be judged and don't need to be, fixed, because they are what they are. I think coming to them and letting them be there with full acceptance is, like I said, the key to being at peace with them, rather than thinking like, oh, I need to learn how to get rid of these things, or I need to learn to control these things, and then I can be, free or happy or at peace or whatever. It's not a matter of, stopping them from happening, because I don't think that's possible. I think definitely, like, you can control or watch the way that you deal with your emotions or how you cope with them or what you do with them. And there are, you know, healthy ways to do that and unhealthy ways to do that. But the emotion itself is what it is. So to resist that or to call it wrong or to stop yourself from having it, I think is what leads to the repression of the emotion and then the inevitable explosion or, you know, outburst of the emotion that you weren't letting yourself feel, aka me. So, yeah. Does that make sense? I was also thinking about, because I made a comic a few weeks back, on my Instagram. I make stupid little comics every once in a while, and it was about seasonal depression. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen it. And about how, you know, seasonal depression, like, I guess the common, you know, narrative around that obviously is that, like, seasonal depression sucks. It sucks to be depressed, and yeah, no shit, of course. And so it was about, like, all of the ways that I've been, like, preparing for / trying to avoid this period. But now that we're, like, kind of in the depths of December and the days are so short and they're coming to the shortest day of the year in, like, a week and a bit or whatever, and now feeling the way that I feel and everything like that, I feel like times like this are kind of inevitable, similar to the emotions, similar to, you know, the base human experiences that everybody goes through. And so I feel like maybe, at least the way that I'm kind of seeing it now, having reflected on all this stuff, coming into winter with a perspective of, like, oh god, I have to stop this slowness and lowness that I usually feel during the winter, because I don't want to feel it. It sucks to feel. You know, I want to be happy and I want it to be summer and springtime all the time. But again, it's just, you know, winter is still gonna come, the days are still gonna get shorter, things are gonna slow down in life in the winter, and the way that your fucking brain chemicals and your lack of sunlight and all those things combine results in a bit of a slower, darker, lower mood. And to resist that, I think, makes it worse, the experience of going through those things. Whereas I think if you allow yourself to feel the lowness and the slowness in these times, in the fucking winter and shit, when, like, the world is literally frozen, there's no leaves on the trees and stuff like that, everything's kind of in hibernation, to put that expectation on yourself to feel like it's summer when it very much is not, both, like, outside as well as, like, inner summer, if that makes sense. I feel like that's a recipe for struggle and a recipe for, you know, non-acceptance. It's a tough thing, because obviously I've been through, you know, bouts of depression and whatever else before, and it fucking sucks. But I think me looking at the suckiness and resisting it and, like, wishing so badly that it would be over, and you know, trying to do things to just get rid of it, and I think that there's something wrong with me when it's happening and stuff like that. the just like non-acceptance of it all, I feel like makes it worse, because if I were to just accept, like, okay, this is the state that I'm in right now, I'm not, I don't really feel like doing much, I'll do what I have to do, but past that, like, I'm not gonna judge myself for being slow right now, because that's the way that, it is. That's the way that I am right now. That's the way that it is outside. When the winter comes, the bear doesn't say, like, fuck this, I want to stay up, I don't want to hibernate. They do what's natural. They, fill up their tummies and then they go to sleep. And so to resist that kind of same mental hibernation, I guess, that comes in the winter, I feel like is just like trying to swim upstream. It's just a struggle. And so that's what I'm trying to remind myself of right now, as, like I said, the days get shorter and all these things. I'm trying to, yes, enjoy all the things that winter brings and make it cozy and all that, because that's, that's the nice positive things that come along with the cold weather and with winter. But also, if I'm feeling slow and unmotivated and stuff, like I was a couple days ago, I'm gonna try not to judge myself for it, or, say, oh, this is wrong, I should be working at 100%, like remembering how I was in the summer or something, or how I am at my peak when I am at 100%, comparing myself to those periods where, like, just factually I'm not there right now is crazy. And it's just a recipe for suffering, and a recipe for a bad time. So yeah, a little reminder for myself, a little reminder for you if you needed it, that yeah, sometimes stuff is just slower, and that's okay. It doesn't have to suck. And thinking that it sucks, or like judging it as a negative thing, judging it as like, for example, if you're unproductive because you don't feel like, doing things at 100%, like you hold an expectation for yourself, which, I fall into that trap a lot. Doing that, falling into that trap is a trap. What am I saying? It doesn't, it's all perception. It's all, if you can unravel the preconceived notion that slowness and unproductivity and not feeling motivated and stuff like that is inherently bad, if you challenge that belief within yourself and you ask, like, well, why is it bad? If it happens every now and then, and like people need time to rest, if these things naturally occur, then how can they be bad? It's impossible to operate at 100% of the time. So why judge yourself for it when the lower percentage days come? Because they're gonna come, And in the wintertime, those days tend to be more frequent. And that's just what it is. That's the season. If we can accept that, then it is what it is. We can enjoy it. Or try to, right? Yeah. Anyways. That was what I was thinking about while I was gessoing and shit. Yeah. I hope that was, I don't know, coherent, or at least nice to hear, validating or resonating or whatever. Side note, I just started reading The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, and I've had this book kind of on my radar for a while, basically since it was released. You see it everywhere in bookstores, the big like hardcover version, which is beautiful, but I wanted to get the paperback version, not soft cover. It's not called soft cover. The paperback version, just because it's easier to hold, easier to read for me. And yeah, it's pretty excellent so far. I've literally only read like the first few pages or whatever. It's pretty like the chapters are pretty short and like condensed, if that's the right word. There's not a lot of like actual writing or like flourishing or anything like that. It just kind of says what it says and then it moves on to the next point. So I'm trying to read through it slowly and take each kind of nugget of insight bit by bit, because I feel like each nugget is like so dense with meaning, and yeah, I'm excited to go through more of it. But yeah, one of the things that right off the bat Rick talks about is how creativity just kind of like comes to you when it comes. You can't think your way into creativity. You can't like analyze or study your way to it. It just kind of comes to you when you give it the space to come to you, if that makes sense. Like if you've ever drawn something from your imagination, or, you know, thought up an idea for like a story or something like that, those things just kind of come, right? It's not a result of like doing some sort of formula to find a solution. And there is a place for that, but the actual like idea and like the aha moment, it just comes to you. And I feel like I've known that, of course. It makes sense when you say it out loud, right? And it's like, yeah, of course, duh. But I don't know, something about the wording or something about the way that he delivered that little nugget or whatever, the concept of, you know, giving creativity the space to come to you, really kind of hit something in me, I think. I feel like, you know, societally, we have a tendency to like work through things and like solve problems and like dig our teeth into problems and stuff like that. And I feel like that's the approach that I've had to a lot of art that I do, or a lot of the work that I do, is that like I try to think my way through it. But a lot of the time, my best work and my best ideas come to me out of nowhere when I'm like not thinking about it, or when, you know, I'm not like racking my brain and like torturing myself over like, oh, what do I do? You know, if I just like kind of sit in silence and like let my brain be quiet for a little bit, and I just wait for something to come to me, most of the time, like I don't have to wait that long and it'll come to me. And if it's for like a specific problem, or if I'm working on a specific thing, I'll like get a little bit of like inspiration or an idea or something, and then I'll work at it. I'll take with what I get and I'll work at it, and then I need to like leave it and like not think about it for a while, and then come back to it again with fresh eyes, and then so many more things come to me that I couldn't see before. And it's like, oh, duh, this is the thing that I need to do next. But sitting there and not taking the time away, and like really trying to like white knuckle the solution, I feel like it doesn't work. You just end up frustrated. So yeah, but we all know that, you know, we all knew that. It was just, it was nice to read it in such a eloquent and clear way, I guess, in the book. So yeah, I'm gonna keep reading that, and I'll share whatever other insights that I have. But yeah, like with this fresh in my mind, I think I talked about this at some point on this vlog, but like the paintings, right, that I'm working on, that I'm prepping the canvases for, I have like a bunch of photos from Japan that I'm planning to use to paint. But in terms of like the actual concept of the collection of paintings, or like, you know, I don't just want to do photo studies. I want to like add some sort of idea or add some sort of, you know, creativity into the mix. So like with these concepts fresh in my mind, I just started looking through some of the photos and stuff, and imported them into Procreate, and then just started sketching on top of them, and allowing it to just be what it is, and letting the ideas come to me without like a plan or without thinking too hard about it, just seeing what happens if I just like open it up in front of me and then just like let, you know, creativity do its thing as it does once you allow it to. And yeah, I'm liking where this is going so far. I selected like a bunch of photos. I don't know which ones I'm going to use, but I'm just kind of doodling some like concepts on them right now. And then I think I'm gonna, like I said, go away from this, come back to it, and then decide, you know, any other things I want to mess around with or add to it, or, you know, how to evolve the concept, as well as choose which sketches or whatever I want to take into the final paintings. So that was nice. It was a nice way to spend a Sunday after, you know, all of the emotions, and I feel like I'm a little bit, you know, emotionally hungover right now, maybe, because of what happened yesterday. So it was nice to, you know, it feels good to do something creative, without struggling, you know, just coming here and allowing it to happen rather than trying to force it to happen, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's all I wanted to yap about for now. Thanks for listening. Bye. And yeah, that is all that I have for this vlog. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope, you know, what I talked about here was helpful or resonated, or, you know, was something that you needed to hear at this moment. I feel like, especially like these past couple little talking bits that you guys would have watched, as I was recording those, I was still very much like kind of in a place of uncertainty and like insecurity, and like judging myself for being in that state as well. So it was kind of like difficult for me to talk, and I was really worried that, you know, what I was saying wasn't making any fucking sense. And, you know, as I was saying it, in the back of my mind, I was judging myself for it, of like, nobody's gonna fucking get anything from this. Like, what the fuck are you saying right now? Type shit. But it's really comforting to, you know, watch this back and hear again the sentiments that I was going through, and be like, oh, okay, that's kind of nice. I feel like that's kind of hitting the nail on the head of how I was feeling at that point. Before reviewing this footage and like looking back and like cutting it together and stuff like that, I was fully expecting that like in this final talking portion, I would have to like re-explain myself and like touch on the points that I feel like I wasn't able to communicate. But alas, I feel like I don't really need to do that. So, you know, the more that I go through doubts like that, and then the realizations of like, okay, you know, like I'm not a fucking blubbering mess or whatever. Like I can still say what I want to say. I'm still speaking from something inside, and that's like clear. The more that happens, the more that I can be like, okay, I can just like trust myself here. You know, I don't have to, you know, go back to what I was saying and be like, actually, this is what I meant. I didn't actually mean to say it like that. I meant it like this, and like correct myself in the future. So that's nice. It was like a nice thing to see and to realize. So yes. That's all. I didn't mention anything to do with Patreon or anything this whole video, so I need to do that now. Yeah. So I have a Patreon, and if you want to support me directly, that's the best way to do that. I talk about a lot how I have my mail tier, my tsuru, my token tsuru tier, which if you sign up for that, you get a postcard and sticker in the mail. Assuming this video will go up soon from today. Today's December 20th at the time that I'm recording this. So assuming it, you know, that will all happen. If you sign up before the end of the month, before the beginning of January, you will get these in the mail. This postcard and sticker. And if it is January at the time that you are watching this, then it's going to be a different set, which you can check and see what that will be, both on my Instagram and on my Patreon. So take a look at that. As well as I have two other tiers that one of them is like a video podcast tier, where I do a video podcast every month where I just like either yap or I do something, and there's like a whole log of videos on there. So if you like my video content, that's probably the best one for you. And then there's just like a little tip one that, you know, you get a little extra video things sometimes, and like photo dumps and sketchbook scans and stuff like that, all the other little extra stuff. So I appreciate you so much if you would like to check that out. And to my current Patreon supporters, my dear patrons, I want to give an extra special shout out and thank you to all of you. Thank you so much. You guys know, you guys are the fucking best. I appreciate your support. Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. Thanks. But yeah, that's all. Patreon.com/leechuts. Thank you very much. Thank you to me for sponsoring this video. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a lovely holiday season. Christmas if you celebrate. A happy new year. And yeah, be nice to yourselves if, you know, you're going through it right now. I feel like a lot of people are going through it right now, as, you know, the season brings. So that's fine. You know, don't beat yourself up about it, because it is what it is. A lot of the things that I talked about in this video, I'm going to continue to remind myself and, you know, try to come at it with love and acceptance. So yeah, that's all. Thank you so much again. I will see you guys in a bit. Bye. I gotta come over there and block the camera. You're a little bit far. Okay. Bye.